Well, we're still kind of at the halfway point of football, and so let's talk about what we've learned.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is not brought to you by anybody. Sorry about that. Jimmy, thank you and everybody for making us your first listen. I know you wake up and listen to us, so I appreciate that. Jimmy, we talked on the last podcast. I did a crossover with UCONN. I'll talk about that in the third segment. But the podcast before, we were beginning to get into what we've learned about Alabama at the halfway point here. Mm-hmm. And I think we didn't get much further than the quarterbacks and maybe a little bit of the running backs. So I thought now we could maybe start with wide receivers. And look, one of the reasons I think we could start there is a viral video of Kobe Prentice doing his best OBJ impression with a fantastic one-handed snag. And then he catches it and then keeps it, like he doesn't adjust it, like he just sort of keeps it. Classic OBJ, classic Kobe Prentice. And it was a great catch. And it sort of, I just think we're going to have a lot more catches like that. Look, when you have an offensive minded coach, I feel like guys want to do more offensive minded things. Not that Alabama's been bad in offense. I mean, we certainly had a lot of moments last year, and then we've had, the Tua years and the Bryce years and the blah, blah, blah. But I feel like the receivers know they're going to be more focused upon in this era of Alabama football, and therefore they want to make the most of it every single time. Well, am I reading too much into that, by the way? I mean, just off a one-handed snag, is that a little bit much?
It probably is a little much off of a video of one particular play. But I've talked about this before. I think Jalen Milroe last year threw 23 balls a game. That's all the throws there were, 23 a game, which makes sense. You're wanting to run the ball. You have the least experienced quarterback in the whole league. You're trying to protect him. You're not trying to put it all on him. That would be a huge mistake. For a first-year starter. But this year, he's not a first-year starter, and this year the offense has changed. So those two things are sort of colliding right now. You have an experienced quarterback and an offense coming in where they want to throw the ball. I think the attempts a week, Luke, are going from 23 all the way up to around 34. If that, some may think it's more, but keep in mind, 34 attempts per week is as much as anybody in the whole conference threw it a year ago. That's a lot of throws for this league. But I think it will be in that range, 34 a week. That means a lot more opportunities for receivers, and Kobe Prentice is one of those guys. Look, I think we underestimate how good a couple of the returning receivers are, and I'll start with Kobe. Kobe's been a good player from day one. As a matter of fact, it's a developmental sport. These kids get better every year. Think how good Kobe was as a freshman and then as a sophomore. He's a high-volume guy to me. He can catch a lot of balls. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. He's a big play guy. He's a move the sticks guy. And now he's experienced. I understand he's doing a good job blocking too. Coach Shepard demands that of his receivers. I think Kobe Prentice has a chance to earn the wide receiver one role. Now, I think that's going to be Jeremy Bernard, a guy who's showing up with more catches in his career than Kobe Prentice, despite being the same age. So look, between Bernard, Prentice, and Kendrick Law, you've got three real experienced guys. Then you've got exciting guys with no experience that I think are going to be splashy. How about Caleb Odom? How about Ryan Williams? How about Emmanuel Henderson? Those guys haven't caught balls in their college career.
Ryan Williams of which you speak? I'm unfamiliar.
The other day I wrote a whole paragraph about him on BOL and didn't even use his name, and everybody knew I was talking about. I think between those three experienced guys and the inexperienced guys that seem to have freaky talent, this is going to be a really good receiver core, and it needs to be because, like I said, Luke, I think we're going from 23 to 34 attempts a game. So there's a lot more balls that are going to be thrown, and a lot more opportunities. Last year we were in 12 personnel. That's only 2 receivers. This year I think we're going to be almost exclusively in 11 personnel. That's 3 receivers. So more snaps, more balls for that wide receiver unit. So I think they're good. They're going to need to be.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to be. And look, it wouldn't shock me too if some of these guys have heard the talk about Ryan Williams coming in. They're like, okay, I got to step my game up a little bit. I mean,
they've heard of it.
They know that. I mean, it's sort of like Julian Sayin coming in. If Julian Sayin were coming into this class and Nick Saban were still here with Tommy Rees, et cetera, I think that it might have made Jalen Milroe pick his game up a little bit because everybody knows the first time he throws an incompletion is up is Julian Sayin season, and I think that's the same. The first time a wide receiver drops the ball, everybody's gonna be like, Ryan Williams would have caught it. Yeah, it was 10 feet over his head. I said Ryan Williams would have caught it. So
Ryan's going to be a fan favorite, and deservedly so. And I think Ryan's going to be really good. I just hope the wildest expectations are tempered a little bit based on his age and size. And I think Jaron Stevenson has been, and this is a great week to use that name. I think actually Jaron Stevenson's been a good word of caution about expecting too much out of a reclassified kid because of his age. But that doesn't mean that at some points during the season, Ryan won't flash like Jaron has flashed and then helped deliver Alabama to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four, frankly.
Fair, but I would also say, since you caution everybody, let's do good cop, bad cop. I'll be good cop. Jaron Stevenson, no disrespect, is not as good at his sport as Ryan Williams is at his sport. At the same time, all things remaining equal, I think Ryan Williams is a better early entry guy to his sport than Jaron Stevenson was. Now, Ryan Williams' sport is tougher, and I could also argue that Ryan Williams probably has more competition to go up against. So, I mean, that could make things even more difficult. And the SEC is better at football than it is in basketball. But I stand by what I say, just having seen Ryan Williams up close and personal. People on here, they make fun of me for this affection I have for all things Ryan Williams. I mean,
really, but, of all players, I would think, he's only the first 2-time Mr. Football in Alabama history and never even played a senior season.
And if
so I think it's fair.
He would have been the first 3-timer.
I don't think there's any doubt in my mind. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind he would have been. Plus, he had, and because on top of everything, Saraland's going to be good again, and he has his quarterback coming back. So the numbers weren't going to dip. The numbers were only going up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree that he would bid a big to do that. And I'm crazy about Ryan. I mean, I temper expectations, but at the same time, my honest guess would be, I think the outcome range of outcomes with Ryan is he could be the best receiver on the team, which I think is very possible. I also think he may be 7th in the room. I think that's possible. But if I had to bet, if I'm betting, I'm going to say 3rd on the team in receptions. That would be my bet, 3rd overall. And that's saying, I mean, that's saying so much.
I'm trying to look at you the way my grandfather used to look at me when I screwed up as a little boy. He will not be 7th. Jimmy?
No, I said a range of outcomes. Range of outcomes.
I mean, range of outcomes. I mean, yeah, okay.
I bet on 3rd.
I don't have time to even make a joke about that.
Well, I bet on 3rd. That's where we're going to bet. We'll bet for the season. And if anything, I'm wrong. You might be 1st. I don't want to rule that out.
Well, let me tell you something. What you wouldn't be wrong about is if you got Fire TV, and that's your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire Stick TV that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all us here at Locked On. You can go get March Madness, NBA, MLB, lots more, whatever you want. They have it, Fire TV. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well, all that stuff. You know you want it. Check out Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels. You should trust me on this. Go to Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV, Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Okay, so we'll keep this little halfway point thing running for a while. We got another week and a half till A-Day. So how cool is it, by the way, that we have the Final Four that Alabama's in and then A-Day the next weekend? I mean, because I'm going to tell y'all something. I have no problem saying this. I hate summers around here. I grew up on Lake Martin, where summers, everybody loves to come to Lake Martin. Well, I grew up here. I went to high school in Birmingham. I went to a boarding high school in Birmingham with a girl that was from the Bahamas. I was like, "You're from the Bahamas? Where do you go on vacation?" I mean, like everything's worse.
She said Lake Martin?
Yeah, she said Lake Martin. I was like, "Dang, you're really hot." But no, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, what I was talking about was I don't like summer. I like fall and winter sports, the football, the basketball. Every weekend you got something going on. Generally, every night you got something going on. And if something's not going on, you're talking about what's coming up. In the summer, all we have to wait on, for some reason, I still buy the Lindy's and the Athlons and all that stuff. And I can get it all right here online. But I buy it because I'm nostalgic. And so I'm happy that we have the Final Four that I get to go to and that my team is playing in. And then we have spring game right after that. So, I mean, that's 2
after
weekends
the spring game. But after the spring game, we have 2 weeks that's when the NFL draft gets super intense. We have 2 weeks to 2 weeks to the NFL draft. Summer magazine season, that's roughly June 1st. And it seems like SEC Media Days is earlier every year. This year's July 15th. So really, once the draft is over, you have 2.5 months, and then it's SEC Media Days. So
but June in Alabama sucks. I'm sorry, it just does. I mean, it's
hot.
So anyway,
and you still have a college baseball still going on a little bit postseason.
Look, when we get good in baseball again for real, I'll pay attention.
Alabama's pretty. Last year made it to super regional. This year, right now looks pretty good for the postseason. But man, I'm worried about the pitching depth. Too many injuries. Too many injuries.
All right, so let's talk about these midweek visits because we got some good ones coming up. And they're going to be here this week. So it's kind of a big deal. First of all, Jackson Lloyd, a top 100 offensive lineman from Carmel High School in California, or is it Carmel? I think it's Carmel, Indiana, and Carmel, California.
Carmel, California. Carmel.
Yeah, so 6'7", 290.
And a baseball. He's so good. He's a good baseball player. You're a good offensive line prospect when you can also hit a 90-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, I'm big. Jackson Lloyd he's among the contenders for the #1 offensive tackle in the country. Alabama this staff offered him way back long ago before rankings really started with this cycle. So he was a 3-star, like basically everybody is at the start of the process. And I still remember some reaction to, because Jackson Lloyd doesn't have the appearance of a 5-star plus type guy. And he was a 3-star at that time. And I remember some people freaking out. They don't know what they're doing. They're from why. This kid's the #1 tackle maybe in the whole country right now. And it just goes to people just need the chill pill. Are there still chill pills?
No, we're all out. As a country, we're all out.
I can tell people are out. Jackson Lloyd is big time from California, but I think Alabama's got a real good shot here, even though it would be a cross-country thing and hard to do. I like Alabama's position with him. Again, probably or arguably the #1 tackle in the whole country.
Then there's Shamari Earls, a top 100 cornerback from Virginia that's going to be coming in. I mean, this is a name that you haven't heard a lot. And it's funny. I mean, he's got some visits to Tennessee, A&M, South Kakalaki, Virginia, and Duke. I mean, sort of an interesting array of teams there, but apparently very good player.
Yeah. He's a name that they like a lot. Some of these kids, and I'm not saying about Shamari specifically, but one thing we have to remember, offers are off. Not every offer is we would love to take you right now. A lot of offers are come to camp. You have an offer. We're going to take a long look at you in camp. So this is a scholarship offer for you because you're on the list, man. It is an honor and a privilege, but it doesn't mean they can commit right now. And I'm not sure what Shamari's situation is, but just a reminder that not every offer is a take.
And just because of a time situation, don't go into this one. Lagonza Hayward, we've talked about him a little bit. It seems like Tennessee may be the leader there. This is a safety, good player out of Georgia. They do say the ace in the hole is Hayward's mother. She's a big Alabama fan.
Have a real good shot at him, but it's a dogfight for him. A lot of schools involved. Alabama will be a player with him until the very end. Highly recruited, highly ranked kid, real good player. Don't bet against Alabama here, but that's whatever the opposite of a lock is. I mean, it's a dogfight for him. What's the opposite of a lock? An open door. An open door?
I don't know, but if you're like Alabama's got a shot, it's going to be a dogfight. They're in it, but boy, whatever the opposite of lock is, which I would assume. I mean, unlocked. I mean, I don't know.
Is Waffle House open 24/7?
Yeah, I think so. If it's I mean,
why do they have locks on the doors?
Somebody's got to have a place to fight.
Well, why do they lock the door? When do they lock the door? I bet every key is lost. No one knows where the key is because you haven't locked it in years.
Why would they need to?
Exactly.
The key's just in it. The key's in the door. This past weekend, I left my car keys. I don't like locking our house that much. I just hate. I'm always like, just come in. Now with all this squatter stuff, I'm like, I better start locking my house.
Is this something to say on the public airwaves?
Yeah. What's your address again, Jimmy? That's where I live. But anyway, I left my car keys in my door like overnight. I was looking all over for them, and I found anyway. That's a safe neighborhood. That's a safe neighborhood right there. No. It's a good neighborhood, but I think people are like, he can keep that piece of crap car. Micah DeBose is another guy that'll be in this weekend. Everybody knows about him. I mean, from Pritchard Viker, and he has taken a bit of a plummet from his original 5-star status. And I don't know if he was actually ever a 5-star, but people thought he would be. He
was in that range originally, which is why, again, we talked about Jackson Lloyd. Now there's the other end of the spectrum there that you can't. People, again, I talk to this all the time. The best advice I can give people about rankings is just make analogies to the NFL draft. When you're talking about rankings for these particular kids that we're recruiting, you're talking about the 2025 draft. Where's Mel Kiper on that? And no one out there would expect Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah to have a really good idea of what the 2025 draft board is going to look like, but yet you're expecting it of the recruiting industry and the colleges. So just a little early, particularly months ago when people were like, hey, look at DeBose, he could be a 5-star. And he has plummeted a bit, but it doesn't change a lot of the core principles of what put him on the radar. I think with DeBose, Luke, my guess is Alabama is really interested, and he's on campus this week. I think it's tomorrow. I think it's Wednesday when people are watching this. I think that's the day he's on campus. I think Alabama wants to recruit him and look at him, and they're really serious about him. But is he Jackson Lloyd? Probably not. Not right now.
I always love offensive linemen with 2 first names too. Jackson Lloyd could also be Lloyd Jackson. It works either way. All right.
Micah DeBose has 2 last names.
That's good. It works neither way. Okay. I'll go tell everybody about FanDuel. FanDuel, how we love thee. The sports calendar is loaded and FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on the action because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. So if you can bet $5 and win it, you get $200 in bonus bets. How do you beat that? That's $200 you can use to bet on the tournament, remainder of the tournament, or NBA, NHL, NBA, whatever, all of it. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, so
that was going to throw in, by the way, on that last thing. I'm a Micah DeBose fan. I hope this is what my hope is. My hope is that Alabama decides that he's a high priority and recruits the heck out of him and signs him. That's my hope, is that Alabama makes that decision about him. I do think right now he's probably an LSU guy. He was committed to Georgia. Now probably LSU would be the favorite, but I'm a Micah DeBose guy. We'll have to see how it works out.
Before this will tie into Alabama a little bit. This was super interesting. I want to tell you. So last night, I played a little basketball at the Lifetime or whatever, and I stunk it up. And so I lost. My team won one game and lost another one. Then I was going to sit out a while. So I came home and watched Iowa LSU, which I was sort of happy to do anyway, because my 7-year-old daughter was like, I want to see Caitlin Clark. I mean, and Caitlin Clark is just like a transcendent athlete now. And so I was very curious.
Most famous women's player of all time, and she's still in college. In my opinion, the most famous women's player that's ever been.
She might be the most famous collegiate athlete right now. Like, not ever, but today. I mean, can you name another one more famous?
There's others Bronny, Shador.
I bet you a lot of people probably don't know. If you said who's Bronny James, people will know. But I bet you a lot of people don't know who he plays for.
Could be.
But my point is,
Livy Dunn will be up there, but for different reasons. She probably has more social media followers than Caitlin, maybe.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm sure. I mean, but that's, again, those are just stalkers like me. But so the viewership, I was curious about the viewership, because like my daughter, who's 7 and she just started playing basketball this year, was like, I want to see Caitlin Clark go Iowa. The viewership was 12.3 million people. That was bigger than the Golden Globes for this year by 3 million people. Bigger than the Purdue-Tennessee Elite 8 game by 2 million. Over the Masters, the final round of the Masters, by just a little bit. It was bigger than 4 or 5 of the 2023 NBA Finals games, and bigger than every single Major League Baseball World Series game this year. Now, a couple of things. First of all, Major League Baseball has been on the decline in viewership for a while, but these other things kind of shock me. And the reason it ties into Alabama is I'm curious. I'm curious what our viewership's going to be. I mean, I want it to be awesome and huge and all this stuff.
It's going to be big.
But
comparison?
If you had told me it was going to be 12-4 before, I would have been like, okay, I'll take that. That's good, because I want Alabama to have all the eyeballs it can. And I feel like 12-4 is a good number. But now I'm sort of like, okay, let's beat 12-4. But man, kudos to LSU and to Iowa for drawing that. I just thought that was super cool.
It was the most watched women's game of all time, and had a higher rating than any men's game all season.
That's crazy. But I mean, I'm going to tell you something. If you watched it, you enjoyed it.
Only one regular season college football game had a bigger number.
Wow. But again,
only Ohio State, Michigan.
If you watched the game, then
I watched quite a bit.
Oh, I mean, Caitlin Clark is unreal. I mean, I kept thinking, boy, I wish Alabama's NIL was big enough in women's basketball to lure her over here. But having said all that,
there is none. I think she's the best I've ever seen at delivering. You know what I mean? Like, you watch Caitlin Clark, she's going to deliver. There's no nights off. There's no, she wasn't as good as I thought she was. She delivers every night out, and is a great person on top of all of it.
Yeah, she is. She is. And so a couple of things. First of all, I made a joke about NIL with the women's basketball thing. I know somebody, I won't even say what program associated or anything to give away anything. But he was talking about how like a certain football coach was hitting him up for more money for NIL, and like, we really need you. He's like, man, I've just been given so much. And he's like, yeah, I just need another 30 grand or something, you know. I mean, like, oh, well, he happens to run into the women's basketball coach. I don't even think she's at this school anymore. But anyway, he happens to run into her, and she's like, oh, you're talking NIL, boy, I could really use some help myself. And he's like, everybody's getting me. He said, look, here's what I'll do. I'll donate $1,000 sort of, and I guess earmark it for you, or let it know it's be for you, or whatever, however it works out. And my buddy said, she didn't leave him alone after that. Like, that was the most anybody had donated, like, for that specific purpose.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is great. This is going to get us who we want. The $1,000. I mean, it's crazy. Because I bet you Caitlin Clark, would cost a lot more than $1,000. But
well, yeah, I read something that I've no reason to doubt it, that said she's going pro, and she does have a COVID year. So she has a year of eligibility. She's walked away from to go to the WNBA, and she's going to make a ton. By the way, as I joke all the time for people to understand, you can make NIL money in the pros. They don't disallow that. It's a big thing, NIL in the pros. But the thing that I read said Caitlin Clark is probably going to make less money in the WNBA than she would have had she stayed at Iowa. That's how.
And I can totally see that. And I feel like anyway, this isn't Locked On Iowa, but I did want to say that I did a crossover with the Locked On UConn guy. Yeah. And first of all, I apologize for the video. Something was wrong on my end, and his video was fine. Mine stunk. But you know, I talked to him, and it's, you know, I try and handle the crossovers a little differently than just you and I talking, because you and I end up getting in this rabbit hole of just, it's like you and I are just talking to each other, not to people listening to us. But I'm more conscious of the people listening when I do a crossover.
We say things like Caitlin Clark also has 2 first names.
Exactly. Yeah. We get off down that tangent. But I mean, and I said, look, I'm going to call a spade a spade. I love this Alabama team. I'm thrilled to death. And I said that, hey, what I worry about is a lot of Alabama fans are like me, and it sort of affixes itself to the team in the sense that I am so euphoric over the being in the Final Four, so ecstatic, so excited that, like, no matter what happens Saturday. I mean, I have some Auburn friends who are like, y'all just going to get your butts kicked. I'm like, okay, I don't care. We broke through the glass ceiling. We're done. We can, now we are forever a threat. So I don't. But I had some folks in the comment, and I said, look, I believe UConn's going to win the game. Now, when you and I make our official predictions later in the week, I'll probably pick Alabama because I'm a Bammer and I'm a homer, and that's what I do. But my head is telling me UConn by probably about 10 points, which is right around where the spread is. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's unreasonable, and I don't think that's being a bad fan. I think that's being very open and saying, look, UConn is a better team than we are. Now, that doesn't mean we cannot win. I wanted to be clear. I should have been more clear about that. It doesn't mean we can't win, just like Yale can beat Auburn, or NC State can beat Duke in the Elite Eight, or Yale can beat Auburn, or even Yale beating Auburn. All those things happened.
I would even point out that San Diego State beat Alabama a year ago,
exactly,
and made it all the way to the final. And I'm sure San Diego State fans will kill me, but I think Alabama was a better team last year. I think Alabama was better than San Diego State a year ago. So the best team doesn't always win. I'll be the first to admit UConn is a better team. They have more good players. Playing UConn's going to be like playing Grand Canyon style-wise. Remember the Grand Canyon game and how hard that was to win? Now replace all the Grand Canyon kids with NBA players. I looked it up. A UConn freshman is projected to be in the lottery. 3 other UConn players are projected to be drafted in this draft, not future. So they have 4 players that are about to be drafted, and they're going to play like Grand Canyon did. So, yeah, I fully realize what we're up against. I think UConn's a better team. I think if we played 100 times, UConn would win the clear majority of those 100 times. But I also think of those 100 times, Alabama would also win a handful of times. And we'll see Saturday night if one of those handful of times shows up. That's the way to look at it. In terms of a game plan, I would go in with the idea that we're going to shoot more threes than we've shot all season long. And we're just going to hope that they go in and force UConn to shoot threes. Force them. Leave them open. Just pack the paint, force kicks outside, and don't even close out. Shoot, let them shoot. And, hey, if they're raining threes, hand them the trophy.
And here's the other thing. And by the way, they were like awful from the 3-point line the other night, like 3 of 17. They still ended up winning by.
I think they're 28% or something is what
but
typically shoot out.
This is going to be. I'm with you, and Alabama sort of does that anyway. So it's not like, Luke and Jimmy said Alabama should shoot threes or layups only. What a novel idea!
It's literally the game plan most weeks. I would just exaggerate it. I would. Yeah. Hey, we do this every week, but hey, this week's
bring that big boy out. Bring that big boy out. And that's the other thing.
If we just let them pound that big dude, if he just pounds us in the post, we're going to give up points and foul out, and the game's going to stay in the 40s.
That's right.
I mean, we can't win like that. That just let let them be open and let them hopefully shoot their way out of the game. Although they might.
Here's what I do like.
Shoot their way to the final.
I like the fact that this is really the first game in this tournament we're a decided underdog. I mean, North Carolina was a favorite, but if I remember, it was like
3.5 or 4.
It wasn't bad. I mean, and in fact, a lot of people were like, yeah, this is the weakest of the ones and maybe the best of the 4s. So, yeah.
North Carolina would be a 6-7 point underdog in this game.
UConn's already beaten them by a gazillion this year.
There you go.
So
UConn beat Alabama last year. I was talking about how good Alabama was last year. Well, Alabama played UConn last year and lost. And this UConn team's better than they were a year ago.
And here's one more little tidbit that I'm sure a lot of people have seen, but both teams went to Creighton. Alabama lost, but put up a heck of a fight. UConn got blowed out. Middle of the season, doesn't
Creighton
matter.
Made a bunch of threes, 17 threes. I think Creighton made 17 threes. There's the formula. Now, I see only one path here. Make over 15 threes and turn it into a 3-point shooting contest. I mean, best you can. Just play a little bit bigger lineup and play them in the paint as a way to force the ball outside. Don't close out. Just basically invite them to shoot. And if they're 3-point shots, maybe they're longer rebounds. You got a better chance of rebounding too if they're longer rebounds off the 3-point line.
One last thing before we got to get out of here. I really think the crowd's going to be on our side too. Now, there'll be a lot of UConn people there. But if Purdue and NC State play before us, if Purdue wins, they're like, yeah, I'd probably rather play Alabama and get this national championship. We've already beaten them once. Why can't we beat them again? They have no big guy. Yep. And if you're NC State, you're already the underdog. Yeah, let's bring on the underdogs. So, I mean, I feel like the crowd's going to be for us and for NC State. Now, I think most basketball purists are like, I want to see Purdue, UConn. And in fact, if Alabama weren't in this, that's what I would want to see. But Alabama is in this, so I want the Tide to win. So we'll talk about it more tomorrow. And until then, everybody, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.